Assalamu alaikum. This is Maria Zulfikar welcoming you all to the English news from BTV Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus urges world leaders to build economy of dignity, shared prosperity and resilience. Chief Advisor holds a series of high-level meetings with prominent global leaders on sidelines of UN General Assembly. ICT accepts formal charges against Hassanul Haq Inu in 8 cases including killing of 7 in Kushtia during July uprising. Chattogram's shipbreaking industry meeting huge growing demand of steel products. Biplab Uddan to be turned into green park with arrangements to work for city dwellers and children to play. Recognizing Palestine as state only matter of time, says Japan's Prime Minister. And Bangladesh bowling against Pakistan in Super 4 phase in Asia Cup at Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. Suggesting 5 priorities for better financing the SDGs, Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus today urged the world leaders to build an economy of dignity, shared prosperity and resilience, ensuring no one is left behind. Chief Advisor made the call while delivering speech at the opening segment of First Biennial Summit for a Sustainable, Inclusive and Resilient Global Economy, implementing commitments on financing the Sustainable Development Goals in the UN headquarters. Focusing on 5 priorities for better financing the SDGs, Professor Yunus said first, mobilize domestic resources fairly, supported by international assistance. Tax systems must be progressive, transparent and ensure multinational corporations pay their share, he said. Negotiations under the UN framework on international tax cooperation must address these inequities, he added. Chief Advisor said UN budget cuts or shrinking ODA would be counterproductive for countries like Bangladesh that hosts 1.3 million Rohingyas amid several other crises like battling climate shocks and economic turbulence. Global support must expand. Secondly, he suggested leveraging innovative finance and social business, blended finance and enterprises that reinvest profits to solve problems are proven drivers of jobs, inclusion and dignity, he said. Thirdly, Professor Yunus called for reforming the global financial architecture and debt governance, saying developing countries need greater voices. Debt should be a tool for resilience and development, not austerity, he said. Fourthly, he suggested enforcing transparency, preventing illicit financing and ensuring citizen participation. People, especially youth, must know how resources are used and hold institutions accountable, he said. Fifth, he called for accelerating investment for the most vulnerable, resilient housing, climate-smart agriculture, healthcare, education, and nature-based solutions. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus has urged U.S. businessmen to invest more in Bangladesh. He made this call at an event titled U.S.-Bangladesh Executive Business Roundtable, Advancing Reform, Resilience and Growth on the sidelines of UN General Assembly in New York on Wednesday. US-Bangladesh Business Council organized this event. 6 political leaders accompanied the chief advisor at the event. The chief advisor introduces them to the US businessman. Professor Yunus has urged US businessmen to work continuously with the government that will form through the upcoming national parliament elections in Bangladesh.
So I can assure you, you have the whole incoming government sitting right there. So that assures you the continuity of what we're saying. Saying that, okay, we have done goodbye, we got. We're not saying that. At that time when we came last year, we didn't even know that we'll have an election very soon. The election was not in our mind at that time. It's just to settle down and see how to organize the government to function. And today, the situation is so different. We say our job is done. Now it's time for the next government to take over. An election date has been announced. We are moving in that direction. And we're very happy that distinguished leaders, all the political parties are here, and invite them to come and join. And they responded very well, very warmly. And the nation will remember that. It's a very significant thing our leaders are doing. I hope this tradition will continue in future also.
Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus held a series of high-level meetings with prominent global leaders on sidelines UN General Assembly in New York on Wednesday. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus held a meeting with President of Finland Alexander Stubb, Italy Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and President of Kosovo Josa Osmani on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York on Wednesday. In this meetings, the leaders discussed various issues, includes the national elections of Bangladesh, reforms of the interim government, Rohingya crisis, increasing trade and investment, safe migration, and preventing human trafficking. On the third day in New York, Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam briefed reporters about the various activities of Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus. He stated that the Chief Advisor had a busy day on the third day as well.
ফিনল্যান্ডের প্রেসিডেন্ট আলেকজান্ডার স্টাবের সাথে ওনার মিটিং হয়েছে, তারপরে ইতালিয়ান প্রাইম মিনিস্টার জর্জিয়া মিলোনির সাথে মিটিং হয়েছে, তারপরে পাকিস্তানের প্রাইম মিনিস্টার শাহবাজ শরীফের সাথে মিটিং হয়েছে, একটু আগে কসোভোর প্রেসিডেন্টের সাথে মিটিং হয়েছে। এই চারটা মিটিং আমি বলবো যে অত্যন্ত ফ্রুটফুল মিটিং এবং আমাদের যে পারস্পরিক যে আমাদের যে সম্পর্ক এটাকে নতুন মাত্রায় নতুন উচ্চতায় উত্তরণের আমরা বলবো যে উত্তরণ হয়েছে এই মিটিংগুলোর ফলে। প্রত্যেকটা মিটিংয়ের একটা কমন থিম ছিল যে এই গভর্নমেন্টের যে ডেমোক্রেটিক ট্রানজিশনের যে জন্য যে কাজগুলো করছে, ইলেকশন হোল্ড করা ফেব্রুয়ারির প্রথম ফার্স্ট 15 ডেজের মধ্যে, এটা নিয়ে একটা বড় কথা হয়েছে। আরেকটা হচ্ছে যে বাংলাদেশের সাথে তাদের বাণিজ্যিক সম্পর্ক, বাংলাদেশের সাথে তাদের অন্যান্য যে সম্পর্ক আছে, ইতালির সাথে যেটা সেফ মাইগ্রেশন নিয়ে আলাপ হয়েছে এবং ইতালিয়ান প্রাইম মিনিস্টার কে যখন প্রফেসর ইউনুস বলেছেন যে ট্রেডের সম্পর্ক তার সাথে আরও বাড়ানোর জন্য, তখন উনি নিজের থেকেই প্রস্তাব দিয়েছেন ইতালি বাংলাদেশ বিজনেস ফোরাম করার জন্য। আর কসোভো বাংলাদেশের থেকে বেশ কিছু লোক কসোভোতে, যদিও ছোট দেশ কিন্তু ইউরোপের এরা খুবই গ্রোয়িং ইকোনমি, তার সাথে বাংলাদেশের সম্পর্ক দিন বাড়ছে।
The International Crimes Tribunal 2 has accepted formal charges against Hassanul Haq Inu in 8 cases, including the killing of 7 people in Kushtia during the July uprising. This morning, the tribunal, led by Chairman Justice Nuzrul Islam Chaudhry, took the charges into cognizance after the prosecution submitted them. The other 2 members of the tribunal are retired District and Sessions Judge Mohammad Monjurul Basit and District and Sessions Judge Nur Muhammad Shahriar Kabir. According to the investigation report, the agency has brought a total of 8 charges of crimes against humanity against Hassanul Haq Inu. Briefing reporters at noon, prosecutor Mizanul Islam said that preliminary evidence of crimes against humanity against Hasanul Haq Inu has been found. Meanwhile, in another case related to the July uprising, the tribunal today held the 8th day of witness testimony against 8 accused, including former DMP Commissioner Habibur Rahman, over the killing of 6 people, including Shahid Anas, at Chankarpul in the capital. The trial began in the morning under the judicial panel led by Justice Muhammad Ghulam Mortuza Mozumdar, chairman of Tribunal 1. Later, briefing reporters prosecution Image Tamim said that so far testimony and cross-examination of 17 witnesses have been completed in the case. He stated that through this, the prosecution has been able to present sufficient evidence before the tribunal to prove the crimes of the accused. The Tribunal 1 has fixed October 5 as the next date for witness testimony in the Chankarpul 6 murder case. In addition, Tribunal 2 today held the 6th day of witness testimony in another case over crimes against humanity concerning the killing of 7 people, including the burning of 6 bodies in Ashulia during the July uprising against former MP Saiful Islam and 16 other accused. The demand for steel products in Bangladesh is increasing day by day. A large part of the demand for industrial products and household products made of steel is met by recycling old materials or producing new products from old materials. The shipbreaking industry in Chattogram is the main provider of raw materials of steel. Warehouses of steel products collected from ships have been built on both sides of the road from Bhatiari to Madam Bibirhat. Nowadays, many people use iron stairs in their homes or business establishments. Customers have to go to Bhatiari or Madam Bibirhat to buy attractive iron stairs at an affordable price. In addition, various steel products including white pipes, boilers, oil depots of good quality are available at affordable prices in these areas. Sellers say nowadays fewer products made of steel are available as the number of old shipbreaking has decreased, though the demand for steel products in the country has not lowered at all. However, many buyers are losing interest due to the high price of these steel products. Many people come to these markets to buy household products such as sanitary ware, water taps, pipes, and other products. Observers think patronizing the country's reusable steel market will not only create employment for many people but also reduce dependence on steel imports from abroad, saving foreign exchange. City Mayor Dr. Shahadat Hussain said Biplab Uddan at gate number 2 of city's Sholo Shohor area, which is gloriously related with the memory of the Liberation War, will be turned into a green park. Planting saplings at Biplab Uddan today, the mayor said arrangements will be made for the city dwellers to work and children to play in the park. The mayor said Biplab Uddan has a historical context. During the Liberation War, martyred President Ziaur Rahman declared rebellion from the office of the 8th East Bengal Regiment to join the Liberation War. He said some cohorts of the Army League do not want this park to be renovated, but legal action will be taken against such people if they oppose it. Local BNP leaders were present on the occasion. Now, international news. In Gaza, Israeli strikes killed 85 Palestinians in just one day, raising the death toll since October 7, 2023 to more than 65,400, with 167,000 injured. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba told the UN General Assembly in New York that recognizing Palestine as a state is only a matter of time. He warned Israel that continued rejection of a two-state solution will force Japan to take new measures. Japan, a G7 member and close U.S. ally, has not yet recognized Palestine, along with South Korea and Singapore, while several European nations have recently done so. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said talks led by U.S. President Donald Trump with Arab and Muslim leaders were fruitful. The meeting held during the UN General Assembly focused on ending the war in Gaza, securing a permanent ceasefire, freeing hostages, and tackling the humanitarian crisis. Indian security forces imposed a curfew in Leh, the capital of the Himalayan region of Ladakh, after at least 4 people were killed in violent clashes between police and protesters, demanding statehood for the federal territory. Dozens were also injured. An office of India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP) was set on fire in the unrest on Wednesday. The government blamed activist Sonam Wangchuk, who has been leading protests, of fomenting violence, a claim he denied. In a late-night statement, India's Federal Home Ministry blamed Wangchuk, who had been on hunger strike for the unrest, alleging he had incited the mob by making provocative statements. It is not clear what sparked Wednesday's violence. Protests have been taking place intermittently in the region for months, and demands for statehood have gathered greater support, but Wednesday's violence was the worst seen in several decades. A mountainous desert with a Muslim-Buddhist population, Ladakh lost its semi-autonomy in 2019 when the BJP government split it from the former Indian-administered state of Jammu and Kashmir, imposing direct rule on both. Super Typhoon Ragasa has brought widespread flooding and disruption after striking Hong Kong and China, following its path of destruction through the Philippines and Taiwan. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled in Hong Kong due to the severe weather. Ragasa impacted the southern coast of China. As a precaution, authorities safely evacuated hundreds of thousands of people from coastal areas. Educational and business institutions in at least 10 cities were ordered to close. The typhoon has caused significant casualties, particularly in Taiwan, where at least 17 people have lost their lives. With Ragasa hitting Hong Kong at full strength, the public was advised to stay indoors. Educational institutions were shut down, and over 700 flights were cancelled. In Taiwan, government officials confirmed that the intense rainfall brought by the powerful cyclone led to a dam breaking at a lake, causing extensive flooding and at least 17 fatalities. The incident occurred on Tuesday in Hualien County in the eastern part of the country. Taiwan's fire department reported that 17 people have died and 152 people are missing in Hualien due to the dam collapse and related incidents. At least 17 people are missing, specifically from the flooding caused by the dam break at Matayan Creek Lake.